But I think when you think about the quality of the passwords generally being used, I think that, they're so easily compromised. It's an illusion to think a username and password makes you more secure.
Yeah, I agree. I think, we're hearing that, from some reports that are out there that users still kind of are holding on to that password, technology. They're really kind of, looking at passwordless, and technology is supporting passwords like FIDO, big passwordless technology. All the big vendors out there supporting it, but the user is still reluctant to let go of the password. They still say it serves that need, right?
And it feels to me that that's the thing that's probably, holding this back. It's not because logically it doesn't make sense. It's not because it's clearly better. It's just changing people's behavior, isn't it? And that's very difficult to do. I mean, even if something is far superior, it's very difficult to make that a reality. It's a process, and I think we're getting there. It's certainly becoming more normal, isn't it? That people moving away from passwords. I mean, even when I think about, I rarely use passwords nowadays. I mean, everything is sort of, I don't know what most of my passwords are for most of my applications and most of my services that we use. And that's the way it should be, frankly, as well. That's absolutely the way it should be.
Yeah, passwords, to me, passwords are really cumbersome, and trying to remember those passwords. I think those are all these problems have been there since day one.
Yeah.
And we tried to, in the US, and I think in the UK too, we tried to get ahead of that with some SMS, some stopgap solutions that it ended up causing more problems, right?
Yeah.
So now you have this SMS, which even causes passwords to be less secure.
That's right.
So, maybe you can use push notifications, which are definitely, you can encrypt the data. But if you're still using SMS and relying on static password with SMS, you're just perpetuating the problem, really. So, what our customers are really looking at, and where I see kind of this movement to passwordless authentication, this ultimately opens up, the ability for users to manage their own authentication, right? So to be self-sovereign. And this is really where digital wallets kind of start coming in. Some of the really cool things that if I'm a user, I can protect my own identity. I can control who has access to my own identity. I can control I can shut it on and off. So I can bring it with me. I can kind of use it everywhere, and really kind of take that to the next level. And I think that's exciting for me, because that protects us from all of the privacy issues that we have, all of the kind of issues that you look at of being untrustworthy, and being able to perform large transactions without having that major is there something else happening here that we should be aware of? So using all that context, all that information, performing all of that within a passwordless system that allows for for the user to turn that identity on and off, and to use things like blockchain to really kind of deal with the two-factor authentication. Those are all important things for us to get there, I think.
Interesting. And what do you think? And is that the biggest challenge? I mean, what do you think the biggest challenge? What's sort of holding it back? I mean, obviously changing people's behavior, but like from an infrastructure or technology perspective, are there any barriers we need to overcome there? I mean, what's the main barriers right now?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of barriers, and certainly user perception is one of those big barriers, right? Users, I think there's lots of studies out there that say that basically user behavior is one of the weakest points in authentication. But even before that, the technology is still just being rolled out, right? So there's not a lot. You mentioned the COVID app. That was kind of the start of some of these digital identity solutions that you're starting to see out. But they really haven't been deployed widely yet. So we're starting to see that now. Additionally, passwordless is even though it's getting adopted in the large technology vendors, it's not widely adopted by the organizations that should be using them. So you can there are steps that have to be taken to get the technology out there, and then changing the user's perception of that technology. And I still think the technology needs to grow a little bit, right? So digital identity verification I think it's great. It's really strong right now. Combining that with app shielding, another strong technology that's vetted and working well. Putting that into AI backend systems, people aren't doing all of that yet. And then leveraging blockchain for authentication, that is still a ways out. People are just starting to talk about how blockchain can really help all of this. It's such a disruptive technology, really leveraging that. So that's kind of more future where you're headed on it. So we've got a little bit of a pathway here.
Yeah, makes sense.
We need to